Hello and welcome back to Visited by Voices Live. We're not really live, we just pretend that a lot. And special thanks for the gifts I've received. I love that you guys are out there and give a crap about this stupid little show that we do. So definitely thank you. This is Sarsaparilla from Wild Bills. It's a craft beverage company, and I will be drinking, I think, about 12 of these on the air on different shows. Very, very appreciative, so thank you much. I am joined today by, of course, Sam.
Recording live? Oh, damn it.
No,
I always do that. I always start talking before you unmute the fucking mic.
it's yeah, it's a meme at this point, right?
Yeah, well, I'm coming to you live from the far reaches of outer space from the USCS Stevie Nicks over here. Hence why I'm looking paler than usual. The lighting up here fucking sucks.
Well, you're on the edge of 17, so it's all good. I'm also joined today by
all right.
Daniel Shine. How are you, Dan?
I am doing fantastic. How are you guys?
It's been a day. It's definitely been a day.
It's gonna see you next Tuesday.
Also joining us from a nation with not the best dentistry, but apparently better foreign policy, Mike the Fifth Beatle.
And the land of better bands, aka the Beatles, coming from Liverpool.
But one less Rolling Stone.
Yeah, sad news. Charlie Watts, R.A.P.
Yes, yeah.
He was 80.
Yeah.
How are they all still alive?
Well, it really bothered me though that it didn't even trend on Twitter for me. I mean, like all rock and roll things show up as trending for me, and like his death didn't even trend, and I was like, the first I saw of it was Paul McCartney saying something which is like toxic to me because I'm not a Paul fan. Finally, we're also joined today by the amazing juice-swilling Jess Graham.
Hello.
How are you, sir?
Good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
How are the provisions tonight?
They're pretty good. I mean, I just got a root beer right now. I like that you got a sarsaparilla. I enjoy a good sarsaparilla.
Yeah, there's not many companies that make them, right? It's only just the craft guys and some of the small regional guys. A-Treat out here in Pennsylvania, which is close enough to where I am, they still make a sarsaparilla.
We still got the Sioux City sarsaparilla, as far as I know. I haven't had one in a while. The glass bottles.
Oh wow, that's really sarsaparilla. Wow,
yummy.
That's good. That's gonna take some processing. That's gonna take some processing. I like any soda that is made by attacking a tree with a chainsaw first. So any root beers, any sarsaparillas, they're all good stuff. Although sarsaparillas, it's not cactus root, isn't that what it is though?
I thought it was sarsaparilla root. Isn't that what it's called? Hell, I don't know.
I don't think there's a tree. But... Anyway, we're brought together today to do another episode of the show where we take two films that are on the surface, or in this case, pretty deeply similar films, and compare, contrast, and make a judgment call about which ones we like more. And in this case, we're looking at two classic, and I use that word in scare quotes, alien ripoffs from the wonderful age of the 1980s. But I'm not talking about the 80s when we talk about like Lost Boys and Fright Night and kind of these glossy, even if they were independent, they were still kind of studio-looking films. No, I'm talking about films from the gutter, from the exploitation masters of their ages. Where you're talking about William Malone, who'd go on to be a kind of more corporate guy in a different decade, or the Corman Studio, which, never lost its indie edge. And you know what? That's a beautiful fucking thing. So let's just go around and just tell me your first viewing of these films, whether it was this time or whether you have a history with them. And then after that, we'll get to our initial impressions of both. Sam.
Well, I got a history of both of them now. Jesus. So, I mean, I've never heard of Creature since, the title itself is pretty forgettable. And I know somewhere in the back of my head, I had heard of Forbidden World, but I had never seen it, and I didn't know anything about it. So it's nice to kind of add that missing puzzle piece. And, kind of reflecting back just, like, on my recent viewings of horror in general over, I guess, the last week. I have seen so much bush. I mean, that's not mine, but like other women's bushes. I mean, I feel like bush is probably not very inclusive, so topiary might be more appropriate because they're not all created equal.
Everything's
But
in.
I've seen more than I expected to this week.
Well, it was also part of the theme. Dan.
That was a theme?
Sure.
I think the proper term is dingwhopper now, but it is what it is. So I have a great history with this. Forbidden World in particular. Jim Wynorski, who is one of the writers on Forbidden World, was once asked on set if they were making a sleazy Alien knockoff, and his answer was, "We're making the best sleazy Alien knockoff ever." And I love a good cheesy Alien knockoff, and I have a lot to say about this. I'm not going to geek out too much right yet. Creature, a little bit less of a history, but I do distinctly remember picking up the media VHS back in the day, and I'm curious to talk about that one. It's I think every home physical media person probably owns that on some kind of budget set, because my God, is it on everything? But I don't hear a lot of reviews for it, so I'm kind of curious to get everybody's take. But yeah, Forbidden World, prepare. I will defend that one to the end. So
He's found his hill, and he's going to die on it.
I will die on it tonight.
No, I'll join you there, Dan.
All right, Mike.
Not really too well. I had no idea about these films. As a kid, I mean, these films are like early to mid 80s, so I kind of missed this alien rip-off genre as growing up. I was more like, at my age, it was kind of like the Cyborg Universal Soldier rip-off era. So it was kind of like, I was kind of like a late 80s, early 90s kid, and all the VHS was like that sort of like, Cyborg Cop, Cyborg Soldier, all that nonsense. So I was completely unaware of these films. The biggest problem I had was just making sure I was watching the right film, because if you type in Forbidden World into the internet or Creature, you think, I've got to make sure, right, Lawn said 85, 82. I was double checking. I was like, am I watching the right film? It's like, because there's just like, you type in Forbidden World into YouTube or the internet, and it just brings up a wealth of options. So I think I got the right films, but yeah, very dark, but that could have been YouTube. I would like to ask, actually,
There
Laura,
could have been a lot of things in both cases.
well, I just want to say, I know that you mentioned in the link, in the Twitter feed, that they were free on Amazon Prime, but in the UK, they were actually £2.50 for each film. So I just took the cheap option. I went with YouTube. They're both on YouTube. Now, they were quite dark, but I don't know whether that's YouTube or whether that's just the fact that they are cheap old films. So maybe you could fill me in on whether they are just.
Sure.
Are they dark?
Yeah.
Let me give you a dissertation on that. The answer to all those questions is yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I did save money then.
It's the only way to watch Creature. It's a VHS rip even on the DVDs. So
Yeah.
Jess.
Well, like Mike, I was pretty new to these as well. In the 80s, I wasn't really in heavy to sci-fi or anything like that. So, I mean, maybe I saw the Forbidden World did it run on Skinamax at one time? It's kind of like what I felt when I watched that one.
I don't know. I didn't have cable as a kid.
But you're right, Mike. They were dark. That's actually in one of my notes. That it was really dark, and normally I hate that. But in this, it was like it was dark, but they lit what they needed to lit just right. And I thought they did a lot. I mean, for a low budget. I watched Creature as the Titan Find. It was the same movie, different. That's how it was released, I guess, under different titles. I think I found that on Tubi. Yeah. So, Are we getting into whether we liked them yet? I mean,
Well, we'll get there in just a second.
Okay.
So, my history is that Creature was something I rented a lot back in the VHS rental days. I actually, if you go back to my video I did about alternative media and dead formats, you'll see a Creature beta, which I purchased several years back. I didn't grow up with beta, but Creature is not a good film. Let's get this out of the way right now. But Creature is exactly what it promises to be. It is the bare bones, take the outline of Alien and make that movie. And as a kid, I don't know if this is going to make sense to any of you, but kids have a sensibility of being able to embrace crap. So I really, really, really embraced Creature. Well, other kids were talking about, a little bit later on, we're talking about things like, oh, I love He-Man, I love Thundercats. And to me, that was all crap, but I understood that they loved it, right? Well, Creature is my Thundercats. You got to know it's crap. Doesn't mean you can't love it, but it's crap. So I watched Creature a lot growing up. I will. That's not a spoiler about where this episode of this show is going, because watching them both again with modern adult eyes is a whole different trip.
I have to ask. I'm going to forget. Okay, did Diane Salinger's crazy fucking hair in Creature inspire your power mullet later on in life? Is that where it came from?
Unfortunately, I can't cop to that at all. It wasn't a conscious decision. Maybe there was some kind of subconscious thing going on.
I think so. I think Creature had left a big imprint on you.
But Forbidden World, I have less of a history with, simply because none of the video stores around me had it. Didn't have cable. So it wasn't until I moved out of the house and joined every video store in the tri-state area and started renting everything from everywhere that I came across both in the same weekend, Forbidden World and Inseminoid.
Oh my god.
So you can only imagine what that was like for a 19, 20-year-old Lauren, right? Yeah. So I have definitely a history with both these films. I've seen both of them a decent amount of times. Creature a lot more than Forbidden World, but they have been with me quite a while. So let's go 20,000 feet. Let's start with Creature, Sam.
What is that? What is that alien? That I don't know what. How did they? How and why? And it looks like a combination of Godzilla and an anteater, and somehow a turd. And I just like a literal log of feces, because it looked brown to me watching it. And I mean, I was thinking, this just looks like somebody went into the Pokemon fusion generator that you can do online and just smash together a Bidoof and a Palkia, because it has the same stance. I'm just like, what am I looking at? I'm sorry, I just can't, my brain doesn't even want to try and comprehend it. If you go on Google Images and try and look at the alien, your brain will just hit a brick wall. I pretty much pieced out of the whole plot, except
plot.
I know, right? I mean, except for the fact that Diane Salinger's character got fucking lost, and that's the only way she survived the fucking movie.
I love that.
And it was then in this fucking alien. That's it. Also, apparently in the future, people are still saying "sit on it" as an insult.
It comes back. It's cyclical, like fashion.
I know. Yeah, that's why Diane Salinger's hair is just it's a wave. It never moves. And I know. I mean, we could talk about costumes. That's fine. Now I'm here for Bryce. I'm here for Bryce. That's really it. That's it. That's the movie for me. Her hair and that monster.
I understand there's no theme song that you can sing for everyone, so that probably is it for you, huh?
Well, there's not a theme song for this one. Theme song for next one, sure.
We'll get there. Dan, Creature.
So, all right, yes, the alien looks like a turd or a Bidoof, whatever. I don't know what that is, but I'm going to pretend like I know what a Bidoof is.
Just Google it.
I'll Google Bidoof after. That'll be my, yeah. But, all right, I'm defending this one somewhat. because I will say, yes, cheap Alien knockoff, but there's actually some solid effects, some really good miniature work. I have certainly seen worse in terms of Alien knockoffs, and in fact, a lot of these special effects, Robert and Dennis Stotak went on to work on Aliens just a year after this.
And this is a better movie, so.
Ooh. Lauren choosing the Bidoof movie over even that over Aliens.
Jason X is better than Aliens, according to Lauren.
That's true too. That's not even close. That's not
close. They're real close for me. No lie.
You need to combine them, is what needs to happen.
If Jim Cameron made a Jason X sequel, I would have to hurt something or someone.
He actually factors into a couple of these movies, but
yeah.
So I mean, one issue that I think a lot of people will have with this is, quite frankly, it doesn't look good. Any DVD transfer of this is just the VHS. It is a very dark film that I think is in dire need of an upgrade to DVD, Blu-ray. And I'm not saying everyone will see it in a new light, but I do think it would help and maybe get some more fans out there. It's a B movie, without a doubt. There's all sorts of odd, I guess, Germany split again. We've got the West German ship. We have Klaus Kinski doing whatever the hell he wants and ignoring the director.
Nosferatu in space?
Yes. Improving as always. Some of the acting, not the greatest, but there's a lot of talent on this. Wendy Schaal, who became a Joe Dante regular on Inner Space, The Burbs. We've got Ferris Bueller's dad. I'm sorry, the actor's escaping me. Lyman Ward, I think. So there is actually a lot of talent on this one. And I kind of like it. It has its moments of suspense. It does keep the turd alien to the shadows, so you don't get a lot of close looks at it, which I think does help. And, I don't hate this one. I really don't. I just think it needs an upgrade. Like, there you go, Jason X reference.
There you go. Mike?
I will say straight out the bat, I prefer this to Forbidden World. I think this is a better film. I think I like the set design. As dark as it is, I think the set design looks really, really good. I'm sure I could try and critique it without referencing the older film, because I want to try and obviously mention that, down the line. But the female lead, I'm just checking her name now on IMDb, Wendy Schaal, she's gorgeous, but she's believably attractive in that role. It's not like the Wynorski sort of film where it's like a Playboy model on a spaceship. She's believably attractive, and she's a good actress as well. Obviously, you've got, as Dan said, you got Ferris Bueller's dad in there, he kind of comes across at the beginning as a douchebag character, but it's quite refreshing how, as the film progresses, he kind of redeems himself. He's actually a decent guy. The main lead as well is a more likable lead than the lead from Forbidden World. We'll get to that. But the alien is a blatant rip-off of Alien. I mean, it's the final shot. It's like a dime store version of the alien. And Bryce is a fantastic character, but is it just me? Is she just a dead ringer for Sigourney Weaver? She's tall. I mean, is it just me? It's Sigourney Weaver.
Mate, I didn't think about that.
Did nobody think that Bryce is just in the hair? That she's tall. She's got the hair.
I mean, just all around. I thought Alien for both films, really. She
just is an absolute dead ringer for Sigourney Weaver, I thought. But she's not used enough. I think she should be used more in the film. She disappears and gets lost. She could have been more effective. She'd be far more effective than the rest of the cast. But
yeah, it would have been nice to see her be the main character. But
yeah,
you didn't know you had a good thing when you saw it, I guess.
But ultimately, I enjoyed this film a fair bit more than Forbidden World.
Cool. Jess.
I just got to say, son of a bitch, every one of you had basically mentioned everything I had in my notes here about this movie. So I'm going to be repeating
Just
a
throw
lot
the
of what you said.
notebook. Fuck it.
I felt like it. I was like, well, that's everything I got.
Elaborate on the turd.
We'll let you go first on the next one so you don't have to
I don't know if that'll make it any better, but you know, like you said, the cast, Diane Salinger, I think she's great. Obviously from Pee-wee's the Tim Burton movies, you know, and Penguin's mom and Batman Returns. She's just great all around when you pop up and recognize her in roles. I think, like Dan said, they did pretty good with their budget. I mean, $750,000 is a lot more than it is now, but even still back then, that's pretty low. The sets, makeup effects, even as cheesy as they were, I thought they were fun. The ending was a dime store alien, but I thought it was super fun as far as that ending with the alien goes. It was cheesy, but action-packed. Sets were great, yeah. And can't say it enough. Total alien ripoff at the time on both films. Now, Predator came afterwards, but there was a couple moments in Creature or The Titan Find, if that's what you watch like me. I thought maybe Predator took from this movie with like the vision of the alien.
Shameless.
Probably not
Creature
true.
knockoff. That's what I'm going to say from now on.
Yeah, and I was surprised that you had said that you guys liked it slightly better more than the Forbidden World, because I was expecting opposite from everybody else, because I feel that way too. I liked Creature just a little bit better. But honestly, both of them, they're not something I'd watch alone or watch again and enjoy. I'd really, you know, I think I'd have a lot of fun if we all watched it together somewhere in like a room. You know, Lauren with this passion for them, I think that would be a good time and make me like them more. But that's about all I got. Like I said, everything you guys said is in my notes. I agree.
They're both alien ripoffs for sure, but they're also very different films. I mean, Creature plays it a little more serious, even though there's humor. But I will also say, and again, with an upgrade, you see it more, but there's some pretty solid gore bits in here, too.
I'm wondering if that'll be a bad thing, though. It could be a bad thing if it's an upgraded too clear, because I feel like how it was lit, the dark areas are supposed to be dark, is what kind of makes it. I mean, I could be wrong just because it's low budget. It looks low budget.
It is, and it's very hard to get a hold of now, but William Malone actually restored this, as there was a widescreen director's cut that he put out, I think back in like 2013, under the Titan Find title, and the studio nixed it pretty quick, but I know that DVD is out there.
Okay.
I grew up with this movie. I mean, I think I probably saw it first at 13 when when the world was turning to horror for me anyway. So this was always something that made me feel good. I mean, there was everything in that I wanted. There was gore. There was a monster. Listen, you put a monster on a screen, as Lauren as a kid, you've won half the battle right there. Forget about the moral of the story. Just put a monster up there and you're done. You had nudity, brief, but it's there. It's sleazy, but it's not nearly as sleazy as the next film we're going to talk about.
Oh.
And it also was just a film that got weird at points where I wasn't expecting it to get weird. Like, when you have seductresses, alien seductresses saying, take off your helmet, you'll be fine, don't worry. It's moments like that where I'm like, I don't know what I'm watching, but I'm fascinated. And I think that it's a smarter movie for what it wants to do than it probably gets credit for, because it's extraordinarily economical to get from point A to point B to point C. So on rewatch, here's the thing. It's nowhere near a good film. I mean, it's not, but I still had a lot of fun with it. And I want to talk about the special effects just a little bit, because what I got to say is I was kind of happy to hear you guys kind of talk up the special effects, because you know what? They're actually probably as good as anything that was coming out that was not a $30 million Hollywood production at the time. I think it's easy to start ragging on a film for its budget, but I think this surpasses its budget in a lot of ways. And even if they handed half the budget to Klaus Kinski, was that a bad move? I mean, honestly, right?
Agreed.
I mean, I think this is a better film than Crawl Space, and people constantly talk about Crawl Space as his like exploitation masterpiece. And I think this is a way better film. I do wish that they had a little bit more money, time, and energy, but maybe that would ruin all the things that I liked about it as a kid about it. So maybe I wouldn't change my childhood experience for what I'd like as an adult. Hard to say. I criticize people for nostalgia all the time, so I don't want to go too crazy on that, but this still makes me feel really good. And I think there's enough there that I can justify my affection. I'm not going to say love, but affection for this film. All right. Forbidden World, let's start with Jess and go backwards around the panel.
All right. Well, I'm surprised you said you didn't watch this till you were about 20 and could find it in the video stores.
Yeah.
See, I pictured little Lorne renting this, playing with little Lorne. Even littler Lorne. I really did. That's in my notes.
That would be Galaxy of Terror, not Forbidden World.
Galaxy of Terror. Okay.
Plug action. Come on, Jess.
Yeah, that was the first thing. The opening scene right away, I thought, what the hell is Lorne sending us? Did he mistakenly send us to cable porn? Or it's got like these flashes of, well, you guys saw it. Yeah, Roger Corman. I think this movie looks a little... it had about the same budget. If I'm guessing, I couldn't find the exact budget on this. But they made, as far as the cinematography goes, I think it looked a little more bigger budget than Creature.
Well, it cheated.
As far as film-wise, the look.
Well, it stole footage from other films in the Corman canon, so...
Oh, I did not know that.
Battle Beyond the Stars, yes.
That makes it interesting. Yeah, but other than some things nice to look at, Michael...
And what are those things?
Boobies and push. It definitely... Yeah, I didn't like it quite as much as Creature. I mean, again, I didn't really care for either. It's not something I'd sit down and go, oh, I'm going to be watching Creature again. But I think it is a lot of... They can be a lot of fun if you're with the right group. Like I said, I feel like if Lorne took us all in the same room, we're having a couple drinks, we're watching this, we'd have a good time. Sitting alone watching it, yeah, if you don't have the nostalgia for it, yeah. Michael Bowen? Now my notes are getting hard to read for myself. I liked him. But I wish I had something a little more profound to say about these. But I don't. Oh, wait.
All right. Oh, you got something?
Yeah. I just more notes on they both definitely are influenced by Alien and Star Wars. Maybe some of Porky's and Hard Bodies for Forbidden World. But that's about it.
You'll never look at a crowd chamber the same way again.
That is true.
Mike.
Yeah, so I didn't like this film at all. I mean, I was watching it and I was skirting the line between, is this bad, good? What's the saying? So bad it's good, or it's just bad. And I was, as the film went on, I was thinking, this is just a bad film. Now, a 12-year-old me probably would have loved this movie. You got the nude. It's gratuitous. It's sleazy, but watching it for the first time as a 44-year-old, that doesn't. In an age of the internet where everything's just available, this isn't gonna tick any boxes. When I saw Jim Wynorski's name at the beginning, I was like, I thought this is going to be, it's going to be good. It's going to be sleazy. It's going to be, at least it's going to be interesting. And I was just bored. And I kept on, the problem with the Alien, because I kept on zoning out of the film. So I'd be watching it and I'd start looking at my watch simultaneously because I was like, this film's just dragging on. And because the alien was the alien in Creature was a lot more. It was just a more basic premise. It was in a laboratory. They go out onto the planet, and then it's up this big massive things up between two mountains, then it's something else, and then there's something splitting up in a laboratory. And I was just, because I've kept on zoning out of the film, I was like, I don't know what is going on. The only thing that kept me interested was I forget, the girl in the jumpsuit who looks like a Playboy model.
Well, she's not in the jumpsuit a whole lot.
No. She gets out of that quite quickly. And I will say, finally, the male lead, a lot less likable than the male lead in Titanfind. I think he's just how he managed to pull those two women is beyond. I know he's the only guy on this. He's a new guy on the ship, but come on.
They must have been Brian Downey from Lex, and I was like, oh no, it isn't.
Oh, I love we got to talk Lex sometimes.
I did. Right? Final thing I will say. You know Jim Wynorski's involved when you get that lingering butt shot on the blonde at the beginning of the movie. I thought, yeah, we're watching Jim Wynorski here. It's like, but yeah, final breakdown. This is not as good as Titanfind. Definitely not.
And I think we're going to get a very different story in just a second. Dan.
All right, so
pull up a chair, people.
I can't wait.
This one's a big part of my childhood. Initially, I rented this thinking that it was a sequel to Forbidden World, which is a sci-fi film I've always loved. I've got Robbie the robot out in my library. And obviously it was not. But I fell in love with it. A little background. So at this period in New World, Roger Corman's studio, there was a string of space films, Battle Beyond the Stars, which to this day was the most expensive production that New World ever had, and that was sort of the family-friendly Star Wars.
Saw it in theaters.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Yes, I wish I could have seen it.
I wouldn't say awesome, but I saw it in theaters.
Well, I'll say awesome. And so you had that. Then you had Galaxy of Terror, which was a much, also a bigger budget compared to this. How this came about was, so Roger Corman, looking at the Galaxy of Terror sets, saw them. I mean, the most money they probably had spent, and said, we need to shoot something else. And Alan Holzman was somebody who was trying to get a director job with New World for a long time. He had directed additional scenes for Firecracker and some other action stuff that they were doing. And he basically told them, give me 7 to 8 minutes of space footage that could become anything later on. And he was able to do that at the beginning. One actor had a robot suit, and they just shot something. And they used Battle Beyond the Stars footage, which literally they keep doing into the 2000s. That movie has been a part of so many other movies. It's crazy. And so once we get this film, a lot happened on this, because there's two distinctly different cuts. There was the director's cut, which we finally got on the Blu-ray release from Scream Factory, which is a lot more humorous, because Corman does not like mixing humor and what he thought was serious horror, and all that was cut out. And I do think the director's cut is better. And what can I say? What is not in this movie for a guy to love? Gratuitous nudity, beautiful women, Dawn Dunlap. My God. Yes, there's porn logic. I don't know how Jesse Vint walks in on a girl in a steam room. She yells at him, and literally 30 seconds, I think he's sleeping with her. So, porn logic. I'm not going to hold that against the film.
Porn script too. Sorry.
No, come on.
It was awful.
It was not, Jess. Come
Sorry.
on. Steak would back me up. I know he saw it and said he loved it. But I don't know. It is a B movie, but it is a perfect B movie, and in spite of all the things that went wrong, the shooting in Vasquez Rock, that big creature up there, accidentally lit on fire, so they had to improvise.
I love that scene. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
it was an accident. They did what they had to do. And Alan Holtzman is a director with a severe stutter. That's a whole other story, and there's a documentary on him that I recommend. And to me, what he did was create I think, a fantastic B monster movie. Every element you could possibly want. No, this is not Alien. None of the Alien ripoffs are, and maybe I just have a nostalgia for that because I love the only thing I love more than Alien is a good Alien knockoff, probably. And this makes me laugh. It gives me everything. And Jess, you mentioned Michael Bowen. If you
Yeah.
look familiar, that he is Buck, who likes to fuck from Kill Bill. So that's where
Yes.
you're recognizing the face. This is a perfect, again, B movie, but perfect B movie. I don't want to keep sucking this one off too much, but I got a lot more I could say. I'm a freaking geek with this movie. Yes.
Well, I know it's going to sound weird, but when I saw that, it was Roger Corman producing, I expected more or different. And I know that sounds weird now.
Well,
I'm saying it out loud. I probably should have expected this, but I don't
there
know.
are three distinct eras of Roger Corman. That's the problem. You have the 60s era, which is some of the best horror films of its era and of its time. And then and then you have the late 70s into the 80s where he was just trying to cash in on anything he could film. And that's a thing. And then you have the weird Renaissance early 90s Carnosaur era where the video stores like really did him some favors by taking that aesthetic and made him acceptable.
Carnosaur's awesome.
It is.
It is.
But
maybe
so
I
Sam,
was expecting the 60s, I think, a little more with him because I'm
well,
big.
we never got back to every once in a while he
We never
production, and he was saying that he was going to get back to his roots, and it would never would. So, but Sam, hit us with your take.
I like this one better than Creature, and I think one of the big things was just there's more color, more light. I could see everything, and it is definitely, it's 100% a perfect B movie. If I was gonna rewatch one of them, it would be Forbidden World, but it's just fucking bonkers. I mean, also we have to talk about. I mean, Ray Dr. Death from Child's Play Oliver is in this, and I got so excited because I had no idea until he popped up on the screen. I guess I was not paying attention when the credits were on at first. So that was nice. Also, better looking creatures, or at least more interesting for me. Although the Metamorph's final kind of transformation, it's definitely just a Xenomorph ripoff, but it's a really happy Xenomorph. Like, it's Little Shop of Horrors level happy. It's so close to Audrey 2. You're just waiting for something to happen. It's like, little ship of morphs. See, I told you I had a song. But yes, it is an extremely happy-looking creature, even when it's busy killing things. It's just, the thing that bothers me is that, like, it's not slimy enough. Like, because the Xenomorph is all lubed up, an alien, but, and it's all drippy, and this one just not enough. So it looks like I could just, like, bite into its head, and it would be like those Halloween black burger buns that they had at Burger King. Like that consistency. Like I can feel it under my teeth, and that's weird. That's probably more in depth than you really were looking for.
Don't try that with the turd alien from Creature.
Yeah,
I know, your teeth would just sink in, then you'd hit a piece of corn.
This is Sam's creature feature taste test.
I really got hung up on the creature effects on these. I'm not, and I think, for me, like a lot of space movies tend to be, introduction, here are the dead meats, here's the monster, and then it's like space stuff on and off and on for like an hour and a half with, sprinklings of monster. and then we wrap everything up. That's usually the extent of all space movies. And I say this, I actually should have prefaced all of this by saying I watched Prometheus earlier. And maybe, I don't know, maybe that's affecting my review, I'm not sure. But even Prometheus is still like, oh, space stuff's happening.
Prometheus didn't have fast food containers, though, to make the...
I like Prometheus just fine. I thought it was interesting, but...
Listen, I'm a defender of those last two Scott Alien films. The hate for him is completely irrational.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe CG's a little rough in places, but come on. Other than that, I mean...
They have problems. They have problems, but problems are no stranger to the Alien series.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather watch Prometheus again than either of the Alien versus Predator movies.
Fuck yeah.
Or Resurrection.
I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
No?
Well, I'd watch the first Alien versus Predator. I can't stand the second one.
I like the weirdness of Resurrection, but...
I do too. Resurrection's great.
I like what they were trying to do. I don't like the end result. At all.
Before we get Lauren talking about Alien 3, I'll get back on topic because, yeah, I know I just went off on a tangent here.
Wasn't going to do it.
That's a lie. Okay, so at the beginning, when the hero is in cryo sleep and he's having that dream, can we all just call bullshit on the fact that he just went and, like, saw all the events of the movie in his dream?
Was that explained in the past?
I don't think so.
No.
It had a very I had a very Kubrickian feel with like the 2001: A Space Odyssey going on just a little bit, but then it made me want to watch that instead. But I'm just like, why does this exist? You just lived the whole movie in your brain, and yeah, I don't think it's ever mentioned or explained.
He's a psychic.
See all this coming? He didn't do a very good job of averting any of it. Oh, that's how he got those two gals.
There you go.
That's it.
The psychic end run.
Yes.
He was his own wingman from the future in the past.
Yeah.
He was.
Something you said, Sam. Sorry, Lauren.
No problem.
While I'm thinking about it, you had mentioned the Little Shop of Horrors and the sing little. That's kind of what I meant by I was expecting more out of Roger Corman. I was expecting Little Shop of Horrors that he did back in the 60s, which I love, more than the musical one, which...
Oh, me too. Jesus.
Would you prefer Jack Nicholson as the lead? That might have been...
It might have helped. But I still... The most that I remember of that movie is just boobies.
Jesse's in one of my favorites, Macon County Line. I love that movie. But yeah, it was 82. That dude could actually get any girl alone. So it's impressive. But yeah, I mean, this started out as Lawrence of Arabia in space, and yeah, Corman just said, "Screw it, just do an Alien knockoff." And I think they did a good job. But.
I didn't know Lawrence of Arabia had subliminal messages of porn flashing across the opening credits
you just
the opening
missed
scene.
I think the intent was more like a James Bond montage, but without, style, class, or subtlety.
Yeah.
James Bond had to be attractive, though.
Well, there's that. So, I have always seen, again, this film really combines in my mind with a bunch of other films from the era, so it was good to go back and actually watch it on its own, because this time it finally solidified in me why I should be able to keep this separate from now on. And that's because Leviathan remade it, beat for beat, story beat for story beat. This is just fucking Leviathan.
Leviathan is a much better movie.
Oh, absolutely. Although I don't think it's a great film. It's a much better film than this. But it's just the whole structure just borrowed entirely for them. It's crazy because the special effects. I'm talking the aliens themselves, in the many forms. In any still, you press pause at any point and you go, "Wow, that looks amazing," and then you push play and you go, "No, it really doesn't anymore." And that's kind of an amazing thing, like, because you can't set out to do that, right? You can't set out to be painterly in any frame, but kind of fall apart in motion. That's a special talent. I can see the Corman fingerprints all over this thing. You can hear him on the phone screaming, "No, get it done! Just no, you can't. Just I don't care if you're shooting for 17 hours. You can't have an extra day." You can hear it. You can absolutely hear it throughout this film. I will say, I think everyone was game for it. I just don't think they were handed their lines more than maybe 2 minutes before they shot every scene, because there's a lot of ad-libbing in this film, very obviously. So the screenplay was either abandoned, incomplete, or changed so constantly that at a certain point everyone just figured it wasn't worth referring to. That said, don't you miss when films could be this out of control? Yeah. I think that's probably a little bit what Dan loves about it, is that today when you go see a film, so say Life, do you remember the Life film with Ryan Reynolds? And yeah. So that would be today's counterpoint to this, right? And see how controlled and how careful it is. Oh, we got to have this hit as many of the quadrants of the audience as possible. Oh, and is there a pop song for the end credits? You can just see Hollywood conniving for your wallet when you see a film today. That's not what I see with these exploitation films, which should have been conniving for your wallet. Instead, they're like, let's hire the guy that just got out of the psychiatric ward to make a film. I think he can do this cheap. And as a result, you get these crazy ass movies that would just go and do something that could not be reproduced today if you tried. And every time someone does try today to make a modern exploitation film, it feels like someone trying to make an exploitation film of a certain era, whatever era they choose. And it never works. One of the reasons I refuse to watch that Fear Street series is because it's all nostalgia. Dude, I have those movies. I like those movies. I don't need someone trying to make them again. Make something today that I'll be nostalgic for in 20 or 30 years, if I'm alive in 20 or 30 years, and I'll be happier. Because honestly, as much as I don't think this is a good film, I enjoyed it. Like Creature more. Is that completely because I grew up with Creature? Hell yeah. I can't justify that at all. And I don't want to justify it. Everyone else gets to justify they love the fucking Smurfs or something from their childhood, which is obviously crap. At least I have these like low-budget, horrific little films to keep my heart, instead of just dumb childhood nostalgia. So.
Yeah, I mean that's how I feel about Leviathan. I will stick up for that movie all the time. That and Deep Star 6, because those are movies I grew up with.
Listen, Deep Star 6 is legitimately a good film. That's
I prefer Leviathan, even if Peter Weller's like walking around looking like a dumb bimbo the whole time.
Miguel Ferrara's head explodes because he forgets to decompress in Deep Star 6.
It's funny you mentioned Deep Star 6 and Leviathan, because when you started this, dual, format, I thought there'd be two films which would be ideal for. But when you look at Deep Star 6 and Leviathan, the whole idea is what you've done with these two films is you've taken these two films and they're basically rip-offs of Alien. With Deep Star 6 and Leviathan, they kind of feel like although they are more of a big budget movie than the films we discussed tonight. They are kind of like a lower budget Abyss, but these two films came out in the same year as the Abyss. So Leviathan, but what was, I don't know, look, maybe with Leviathan and Deep Star 6, was there a move at the time for underwater alien movies? Because it's like they couldn't have been influenced by the Abyss, because the Abyss came out in the same year. They were all getting made at the same time. So was it an Aliens influence again, or?
Well, not directly. So what actually happened in that case was that James Cameron, coming off of some incredibly big films, had a film announced called The Abyss. And all anyone knew was that he was going underwater with it. That's pretty much all anyone knew. It was a listing in Variety that production had begun. Variety, if you ever had Variety back in the day, there was a section, it was I think page 7 and 8. It was always gatefold, and it would show you everything that was on production on lots in Hollywood. No indies, just the studios. So you'd say 20th Century Fox, and here's the 4 productions they have shooting right now or in production right now. And that's just that listing made all the independent, exploitation studios, whether Carol Co. or whoever, just decide we need something to compete with that now. Because they'd learned a hard lesson with those Road Warrior and the other would be Escape from New York ripoffs that were coming out of Italy and America.
So many.
Yeah, but besides the first year, maybe and a half, no one went to see them anymore because it was like you'd already seen that film 7 times. So they knew they had to get in early because the thought was Jim Cameron made Terminator, he made Aliens. Okay, he was the guy that was going to put out something big that was going to have an instant sci-fi horror fan base, but they know nothing about it. So they guessed pretty much that it was aliens at the bottom of the ocean, and it kind of was that, except it was also twice as long as it needed to be, incredibly boring, almost killed its actors because of incompetence on the set, whole bunch of other things that Jim Cameron has to own. But I'll take any of the ripoffs over the real Abyss any day of the week. Even what was the Lord Gods of the Deep, Lords of the Deep?
No.
Which is really really bad. But I'll take it over the Abyss because the Abyss is boring and
it is. Oh my god, I'm so glad that I'm not the person who thinks that shit.
And before someone says it, no, the finger water alien looks like shit. It always did. It looks like a bad digital effect. It looked like a big dumb digital effect in 1990 when my sister and I went to go see the film because it was the longest thing in theaters and we didn't want to go to our family reunion.
That's a beautiful story. I love it.
Very specific. The Abyss is just Jim Cameron handed too much money to make a movie, so he made as much movie as he possibly could. That's all it is. But there's too much there, and none of it works really. I mean, a wedding ring stops a door from closing on a guy. That's supposed to be a bunker door. Come on, that movie pisses me off.
One that you guys didn't mention from that same cycle of underwater attempts at Abyss cash-ins, The Rift with Jack Scalia and R. Lee Ermey. It's also on Blu-ray now. Nobody talks about that one, but
I've never heard of it. So,
yep. Yeah. But so to answer your kind of question, finally, I don't want to do anything as obvious as Deep Star 6 and Leviathan. I feel like a lot of people have already kind of done that. So I want this series to still serve the same kind of purpose that Obscurity Reports does, which is like films that are at least a little less known, shed a little bit of light on, because I think everyone knows Deep Star 6 and Leviathan. And although I could speak at length about why I love Deep Star 6 so much, ultimately people have made their mind. And if at this point they haven't seen the films, they probably have chosen not to see those. Whereas I think Creature and Forbidden World, there's a good chance that a lot of the community has not seen either of these films. And if we can fix that, I would be happy.
I've not seen any of the 4 films so far, so I thank you for the first 2. The second 2, I enjoyed the experience, but I probably won't be revisiting them. But I mean, See No Evil, stone cold classic for me. Love that film.
That's pretty great.
Those are solid, yeah.
So let's go around the table one more time. Just give me your grades of both films and make a final determination of which one comes out on top. Sam?
Oh boy. Creature. Oh man. I guess if we're talking like as far as Barrel of Monkeys, it's like mostly like the bottom of the barrel where there's like a lot of monkey shit, but then there's also some fur and maybe like a toenail or something. But Forbidden World, it's like at least, you've at least got a few dead monkeys in there and maybe one that's like kind of hanging out and eating the rest of them. So I'm going to say Forbidden World's a little bit better.
Okay. Dan?
Okay, so, at least the Flesh Wound Features scale is 0 to 5. And I'll just preface this by saying, like, I'll rate a B movie as a B movie. I'm not rating Forbidden World as I would rate The Exorcist or Eyes Without a Face. That's kind of how I do things. Creature, I do think it's above average. I think a lot of the issues with that one is the fact that we just don't have a great version of it. I give that one a 3. And Forbidden World, That movie is pure happiness for me. I give it a 5. I don't care what anybody thinks. 5. That goes for anybody watching.
The Citizen Kane of bad alien ripoffs.
It is.
Wow.
Perfect for what it is.
Mike.
I feel really bad now because Dan's not going to like me for this. I'm going to use my IMDb rating, which is how I rated them IMDb. Creature would get a 5 out of 10. Forbidden World, the 12-year-old me, it would have got a 9. But the 44-year-old me, it gets a 4. I'm sorry. Yeah.
That's okay.
That's still pretty generous.
Jess.
I'm going kind of off of, like Dan said, I'm rating this as a B movie and not comparing it to a bigger budget or something I love. So Creature probably got a C minus for me. So on a scale of 5, which would have been a low 3. And Forbidden World, like Mike said, unless if I was a little 12-year-old boy, I would have given it higher, but now it's got a D. It's a D. 2.
And shockingly, I am exactly lined up with Jess. C minus to Creature, although in my nostalgia scale, it tops. It's up there with anything. Just honestly, as a film, it's a C minus. And Forbidden World, I'd say, is a D. That said, I want to just refer back and say, I would rather watch a trashy exploitation film from an era when there was such a thing as a real exploitation film than any of the slick studio stuff today. Period. People get all excited about how violent a Deadpool movie is. That's where we fall into. It's like, they're not grimy. Well, give me some grime every once in a while, and I'm a very happy man. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. We'll be back doing this again in another month. Is there any final words from anyone?
Thank you. Much as, like I said, I wouldn't sit down and watch it by myself. It was fun to take a look at something like this you recommending. And
could I
again?
Have you got any ideas for the next month's films, Lorne? Or?
Oh, absolutely. This show is actually easier to program than the other one. But
could we get a hint, a clue, maybe?
As soon as we're off the air, we certainly can.
Oh.
All right. So thank you guys all, and Sam, take us out.
No, I'm just going to go blow myself out the airlock. Y'all have fun.
Like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff.
Either way.
So if you like
Nature.
Take a look.
burned my skin, futzed around in the water, driftwood all over the beach, and